Hey, I'm Ryan Pineda. I went from making $1,200 a month as a minor league baseball player to now owning multiple seven-figure businesses, and I am one of the passionate few. This interview today with Omar was one of the best that I've ever done. He asked me some in-depth questions that I've never been asked before, and I think that those listening and watching will be able to take away being inspired and to see that sometimes things go exactly as they should, even if we don't think that it's how it should have played out.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode here on The Passionate Few. It's your host, Omar, and today you're in for an inspiring episode as you're gonna learn the incredible story of Ryan Pineda, a serial entrepreneur who went from not only $0 in the bank, but literally negative tens of thousands of dollars when he maxed out his credit card after asking his wife for permission, invested in a real estate property, and would ultimately find success. And fast forward a couple years later, has built over half a dozen companies doing 7 and 8 figures. Literally in this interview, he talks about one of his strategies to help him make over $1 million a month. So trust me, it's some of the strategies that have allowed him to not only grow these businesses and his mindset in his life from couch flipping, but also how he was able to reach over 100 million views in 2 years alone. But I'll spare you all the details. Trust me, this interview is epic. You gotta check it out. And also, if you're watching this and you're just like, man, I wanna learn how to take action. I wanna learn how to actually finally break through. Maybe you're stuck in your life, your business, your brand. Well, you're in luck because our brand new Passionate Few Academy has officially launched. And all you gotta do if you want a free strategy session with our team is actually book a call in the description down below so that we can see if we can help you really take your brand, business, and life to that next level with some coaching. But with no further ado, let's get right into this epic interview with Mr. Millions of Dollars a Month himself in his studio in Las Vegas, Ryan Pineda.
Excited to be here, dude.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us in the studio and letting us use your space here, man.
I know, dude. I was kind of offended. You came with a giant camera crew because you said, man, I didn't know what you'd have. And I'm like, come on, man. You know, I got it.
We came prepared, dude.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, so a lot of people have started to see you really blow up on social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You're all over the platforms. But can you give a little bit of the audience context as to what you do present day? And then we'll kind of go back to your story, just so the audience has an understanding of what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur, like you said. I didn't know I was a serial entrepreneur until I just kept starting businesses over and over again. And I realized I was pretty good at it. And today, I think now I have 7 businesses that are over 7, 8 figures. And, you know, most of them are real estate related. You know, we flip a lot of houses, we buy apartments, we do education. You know, we got an NFT project getting launched. So a lot of different businesses in conjunction with all the content.
Nice. And how old are you today, present day?
I am 33.
33. And when did the first entrepreneurship foray start for you? Was it flipping couches or where did that begin for you?
Well, you know, I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur as a kid. I always just wanted to be a baseball player. But, you know, when I was a kid, I was doing entrepreneurial things. Like I was flipping Pokemon cards. I was flipping cell phones later while I was in college. And I would say my first real successful business was couch flipping, like you said. I was, man, how old was I when that happened? Probably 24 years old, give or take. And I just realized, I was like, man, I bet you I could buy this couch for way less than what I could sell it for. And I just kept doing it over and over again. And sure enough, I learned how to negotiate and sell people. And I learned how to list things. I learned how to deliver and handle logistics, how to have a storage unit and clean things. And that was my first one.
Your first sale?
Yeah.
What was it? What was the numbers?
I just remember I bought a ton of furniture for our apartment. My wife and I just got married. And then I remember looking there at the furniture. I had furnished the whole apartment for $1,000. And I said, I guarantee I could sell all this stuff for like $3,000. And I went and took it to the test, and I ended up buying a couch for like $100 because I just knew it was worth $300. And, you know, sure enough, I reposted it for $300, and, you know, a few days later, sold it. I'm like, I'm in. This is easy.
And you were running this on the side to playing baseball?
Yep. I was playing professional baseball at the time. You know, I got drafted by the Oakland A's in 2010. So I was always looking for these side hustles and things during the off season to, you know, really just get me by. You know, it's not like I was trying to get rich. I was just trying to get by until baseball finally paid off, which it never did. But
was that always your dream? And I'm really excited to dive into that part of the story because I wonder, with all the success you've had now, if maybe like some part of like not getting what you wanted in baseball, you wanted to get it at that level in business later. But take me back, like was being a baseball player always the dream since you were a kid, or what was that like for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ever since I was a kid, man, I played t-ball, little league, made all-stars. I remember my freshman year in high school, I was the starting shortstop, batting third on varsity. It was just like, for me, every step of the way in my journey, I'm like, I'm destined to get to the big leagues. Like, this is what I do. And sure enough, I get a Division I scholarship, become an All-American, and I get drafted by the Oakland A's. And it wasn't until I got through the minor leagues that I realized, like, dang, man, like I now feel like I am not the best guy on the team. In fact, I feel like I'm on the edge of getting cut, which I've never felt before. And yeah, dude, I think so many of those experiences that I had to go through as a professional baseball player, not only with the discipline and the work ethic, but also on the other side, 6 months, not making any money, living on my own as an adult, like that definitely shaped me.
And so when you guys got married, was the plan always like telling your wife, like, babe, like it's going to work out, I have all these big plans, or a series of failures, or like take me to the hustle those days? What was that like?
Yeah. My wife and I met when she was 18. I was 21 or 22. I went to UNLV for 1 semester because I had already, been to school at Cal State Northridge. I got drafted, and I only had 1 semester left to graduate.
Where did you grow up?
Here in Vegas.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So I had 1 semester left, and I go, you know what? I don't want to go back to Northridge to finish. Let me see if I can just finish at UNLV. And I got all the credits approved and all this stuff. And one of the credits I had to take was an elective. And so I took a canoeing class. It was a weekend of canoeing on the Hoover Dam where you go canoeing, camping, and you get 3 credits. I was like, this is the best class ever. And I ended up meeting her during this canoeing trip. And then obviously...
Love at first sight?
No, it wasn't love at first sight. She didn't like me at first. And I was just like... She'll tell the story. She's like, he was just this dumb jock, like thinking he's just hot stuff. And like, I was so turned off by it.
Did you try hitting on her? Like,
oh yeah. And she's like, obviously he was cute, but he was just an idiot jock. And I was like, whatever. And then, she came crawling back, and,
what was the strategy to get her back? You played hard to get, or?
Follow up, dude. Good business. Good follow up. We ended up dating. We dated a year, got engaged, when she was like 19. And then we were engaged for a year, got married when she just turned 21. But, at that point, you got to remember, her and I were never big on money. She grew up in a very low income family. And like, it's not like they were poor, but her dad probably made $40,000 a year, and her mom was a stay-at-home mom, and they've literally lived in the same condo their entire life, which is super rare. So she grew up with not having much. It's not like she wanted all these nice things. And when she met me, she knew I was like a baseball player, but she also knew I was making $1,200 a month. I was trying to get to the bigs, but in the meantime, I was going to just do anything and everything to just try and make enough money. And we didn't really have a plan. Like,
just winging it.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, if I get to the big leagues, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And if I don't, well, we'll figure it out.
And what was the age where you realized, like, oh, shoot, this is probably not going to work out?
Was
there a day where you accepted that reality?
Yeah, I think it happened in 2012, actually, before we got married. I had just finished my 3rd season with the Oakland A's. I was at spring training, and I got released at the end of spring training. And that was probably the hardest point in my life. Like, it was easily the time, like, I'm not a guy who ever really dealt with depression or anything. I've always been very optimistic, but I remember at 23 years old walking into the office of the coordinator, and he said, hey, essentially to the tune of, you're just not good enough. And he's like, you could continue your career. I've got some connections if you want to like try and go play independent baseball. And I was like, nah, I'm done. And that's it. And I remember going back home, I told Mindy, and she's like, you need to keep playing. And my mom said the same thing. They're all like, you've already trained. You're 23. You're still really young. You should keep playing. And I was like, no, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. I'm going to get on with my life. I didn't even know what the plan was. And I remember, I don't know if I ever told this story, but I applied for a job in 2012. Getting jobs in 2012 was way harder than it is today. Companies were still coming out of the recession. And I applied for a job at Allegiant Airlines And I'm thinking like, I got an economics degree. I'm a pro baseball player. They're going to take me, and like not even an interview. And I was like, dude, if I can't get even an interview at Allegiant Airline, there's no way I'm going to for 40 grand a year job. Like, this is not good.
And you're like 25 at the time already.
No, I was 23.
Okay.
And, I end up going to play another year. A team calls me, and I think, as a Christian, I always think everything happens for a reason. And even though I hard-headedly did not want to keep playing, this team really kept persisting. I was like, fine, I'll go play. So I pack up my stuff and I go to Fargo, North Dakota to go play. And I have the best time of my life playing baseball. It was like it rekindled the joy that the minor leagues had kind of taken from me. Because
what was it about it?
Well, throughout college and high school and all that stuff, there's politics in sports, but really the best players play. Right? But when you get in the minor leagues, that's not the case. The high draft picks play regardless of how they're playing because they get a lot of money invested in them, right? Yeah. I get it, right? And if you're a lower draft pick like me, unless you just kill it right off the gate, you don't really have a chance. And so I got discouraged because I was playing better than a lot of higher draft picks, but they would always get all the playing time. I'd go up to the park every day not knowing whether I was going to get a chance or if I was in the lineup or not. It was super frustrating. And so I really started to grow very angry at the game. And so when the A's released me, I was kind of relieved. I was like, dude, I'm over this. I'm done. But, when I went and played that next season, it went back to the way it was, where they didn't care. It didn't matter what your pedigree was. The best player plays. And so I was one of the best players. I got to play every day again. I had a blast. And I ended up playing for 5 more seasons.
Very cool.
After that. But at that point, you asked the original question of when I knew it was done. I felt like at that point, I'm like, yeah, there's like a very slim chance something happens here. But regardless, I just enjoy playing the game. So I'm going to just keep playing. And I know business will always be there till I die.
Right. And how much were you getting paid at that time?
The same thing, dude. The independent baseball didn't pay much. I think I was making like $1,400 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get the resentment with the game a little bit. Okay. So then from that, you tried different entrepreneurial ventures. I know you flipped the couches. What's the next couple things you tried trying to kind of find your momentum?
Yeah. I mean, before I flipped couches, I became a realtor in 2010. And I hated being a realtor because I just did not like showing clients around and stuff. And I just didn't really have a passion for real estate. So, I'm a realtor, really hard. I sell some houses, but I'm definitely not taking it serious. I then start doing substitute teaching because I heard that you could make $100 a day babysitting some kids. So,
so you're just kind of in a phase of just trying anything.
Well, and the thing was, I was in a phase where I wasn't trying to build a career like most of these kids I see. I was just trying to get by. I was like, I'm playing baseball and I'm just trying to get by until baseball is no longer the priority. And so that's what I did. And then, I found this couch flipping thing. And that was the first time I ever felt like rich, because I was making $2,000 a month, super easy work. Then it was $4,000. Then it was $6,000. Then it was $8,000. I was like, I make $8,000 a month doing this. This is insane. And I felt rich. I was like, we're rich, babe. We've made it. I could flip couches forever.
Yeah.
And we're good. And seriously, we both were saying that. We were like, dude, our life is sweet.
And where would you source a lot of the products that you'd resell? Just
Craigslist. At the time, there was no OfferUp. There was no Facebook Marketplace. It was like literally all Craigslist.
Do you think you could still make money doing that now, or do you think the market's changed?
Oh, bro, let me tell you.
Still a huge opportunity.
It is huge. I would have never imagined that my most popular videos would be about couch flipping because I remember one day when I was like, I want to be a YouTuber, I was like, I think this might help some people. So I just filmed this crappy video. I'm like, here's what I used to do. Here's how you flip. Here's what you should look for. Here's how you list it. Offer free delivery. It's a wrap. Dude, the videos went viral. The TikTok got 1 million views in a day. The YouTube had more views than any other video I ever made. To this day, it's still the highest viewed video. Any video I make about couch flipping crushes. And then I've had many people come into my Future Flipper coaching who are like, yeah, I flipped couches so that I could get into house flipping just like you. We wanted to make the transition.
Wow.
And I also got, somebody sent me this Facebook group for couch flipping. It's like where all the couch flippers are on Facebook.
It's like a community now.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to join this community, dude. If you join it, they're going to go nuts. And I was like, okay.
How did you first hear about it? Did someone tell you about it, or are you just on your own trying?
Yeah, one of my students who flips couches still. One of my students makes like 20 grand a month flipping couches. It's crazy. And so he sends me it. I join it. I start looking through these posts. Like, these people are like a real estate mastermind. They're like pointing things out. Like, oh yeah, you got to clean that material, this. I'm like, wow, these guys are good. So I just make a post. I'm like, hey, I love seeing all you guys in here couch flipping. This is super dope. Keep grinding. You guys are awesome. And literally just like, it was like LeBron walked in the Staples. Just everybody went nuts just on the post. They're like, the GOAT is here. And I'm like, dude, you guys are crazy. So funny, dude.
Yeah. You went from being like a potential baseball Hall of Famer to a couch flipping Hall of Famer.
For sure. I'm in the couch flipping Hall of Fame. 1,000%.
So then after that, what other endeavors do you try? You said real estate, you got your license. And then what else are you trying at that point?
Flipping cell phones. The couch flipping was the first successful. And once I got good at that, that was all I focused on. I was like, I'm just flipping couches. That's it. And then I learned about real estate investing. So what had happened was, I got my license in 2010. After a couple of years of doing it and hating it, I just quit. I was like, I'm not even I'll keep the license active, but I'm not even doing transactions. And then I find couch flipping and, during this time around 2014. And then I do that for a year. And then I remember on our 1-year anniversary, my wife and I are just talking, and this first year of marriage for us, it was great. We got our own place. I was flipping couches. Things were pretty stable. She was about to graduate college, I think, and become a middle school teacher. And we're like, things are great. But I felt empty still because I just knew that this was like another side gig. It wasn't like this. It was a thing meant to get me by, and it turned into, being very lucrative, but I just didn't feel fulfilled doing it. And so on our 1-year anniversary, we're in New Orleans, and I just remember praying. I was like, God, whatever you want me to do, just show it to me, because I'm super grateful that I'm flipping couches and I'm able to provide for my family, but I know there's like a bigger purpose for me. And sure enough, this TV commercial pops up, and this guy's like, do you want to learn how to flip houses with no money? And I said, dude, that's a scam. There's no way that's true. You can't flip houses with no money. I've been in real estate since 2010. There's no way to do it. But I remember God just like telling me, look into it. And I said, okay, fine. So I Google it, and I start looking into it, and I find this website called Bigger Pockets. I start reading these blogs and I listen to these podcasts, like all on our 1-year anniversary. And I was like, holy crap, you actually can do this. And at this point too, I'm like, I understand real estate and I'm really good at finding deals. That's all I do for flipping couches. I was like, I can guarantee you I can find houses to flip. And so coming home from that 1-year anniversary trip, I said, I'm going all in on flipping houses. I told my wife. She's like, cool. And I go, by the way, I'm going to have to max out our credit cards to get a down payment. And she's like, all right, cool. Like, she's so laid back and chill.
Supportive about it.
Yeah, she's like, hey, you're passionate about it. I'm sure it's going to work out.
And so, at that point, how much, if you don't mind me asking, how much did you guys max out, and how liquid were you in your bank account at that time?
Yeah, at the time I had saved up about $10,000. That was so much money. Because you got to remember, even though I was making good money flipping couches, I was still gone 6 months out of the year making $1,300 a month.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So is like, I made good money while I was working, but then I wasn't making anything the other 6 months.
In the off season.
Yeah.
Or the on season.
The real season. And, I ended up just running the numbers, and I applied for every credit card under the sun, and we were able to get about $50,000 of
Was your credit score good at that time?
It was. And then I shot it down to like 400 or 500 because I just maxed them all out. I didn't care.
So you had 10K liquid, you maxed out 50K worth of credit cards.
Yep.
And then you just told your wife we're going all in, and she was supportive.
Mm-hmm.
That's freaking epic, dude.
It was crazy.
So what do you do? What was your plan of attack?
My plan was we're all in at this point, so I got to go find a deal now. And then I think I found my first deal.
Wait, so you maxed out the credit cards before you got the deal?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just put the pressure on yourself to have to figure it out, kind of.
Yeah, and I just wanted to know I had the money available to me, and
Right.
that stuff. So, and also too, a lot of it was like these promo rates, 0% for 18 months and stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's get the money now and let's go. Just also too, so I could show the lenders that like I had some capital for the down payment and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a couple of months later, I bought my first deal. And then like 2 weeks after that, I still had some money left over, and I found another deal. I was like, well, let's just do it. We're going all in. So I bought 2. And then thankfully, one of them sold within 2 months and I made 25 grand and the rest is history, dude.
Yeah. And were you aware of how to flip at that point, or were you kind of learning as you go?
I was learning as I went. One thing that I was really fortunate about with flipping couches was during the time I would spend about 3 hours a day on the road because I was picking up couches, I was delivering and all that. So during those 3 hours, I literally listened to podcasts nonstop. You know, this is why I'm so passionate about podcasts. And I love that, you know, your podcast is amazing. Like, I remember I heard about Bigger Pockets. It gave me the belief I could do it. And I went back to episode 1 and I said, all right, I'm going to listen to every episode they have. And I caught up all the way to where they were at because I would listen to 3 or 4 of them a day.
Wow.
And that was like my university for the months while I was trying to learn. And so did I know what I was doing? No, I wasn't smart enough like I am today to go just get a mentor right away. I was just like, podcast is my mentor. And don't ever do that, by the way, guys. Like, go get a real mentor. But thankfully, I was able to learn. And, you know, when I finally got the houses, I was like, okay, this is the guy I need to hire. This is it. And made a lot of mistakes, but thankfully still made money.
And then as soon as you start getting momentum, how does that transition from you diversifying into other real estate investments and then later teaching real estate? Like, how did all of that unfold? Because that's really where you started building the bulk of the wealth you're building now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people see what I do today, and so they automatically assume you've got to start a lot of companies off the bat and stuff. But what they don't realize is, man, there really is exponential growth with like what you do. You know, I made my first 6 figures in a year, like when I was 27 years old. Like, it took a while, you know, and I only focused on flipping houses for, man, the first like 4 years. Yeah, that first year in 2015, only flipped. 2016, only flipped. 2017, only flipped. 2018, I opened up a brokerage, but, you know, it still wasn't really a priority and just focused on flipping.
How much were you making those first 4 years, if you remember, from flipping?
Yeah, that first year, I made, I bought 5, I sold 3 of them, and I made 50 G's. The second year, I made over 200 grand. The third year, I made 750 grand. And the fourth year, I made over $2 million. So it all happened really fast.
And then you just made money and then kept reinvesting it into flipping more. That was the game plan.
That was it. I would just literally throw every dollar back into buying more flips.
So prior to that, the drive wasn't to build wealth. It was just kind of like you were just trying different things, learning skill sets. And then you leveled up kind of the skill set of flipping couches to flipping homes, and then got bit by the bug and was like, how far can I take this? It wasn't like a lot of kids now who are like, oh, I want to be at 100 million by 30 or whatever. Like, it wasn't driven by that.
No, never. And even today, I'm not driven by that.
It's just daily growth, monthly growth.
That's it, man. You know, I was with Brad Lee. I've told this story before. I was with him. I don't even know. We were golfing over here like 6 months ago or something. And he was like, dude, you know, you're going to be a billionaire, right? And I was like, bro, like, don't even like say that. Cause like, you know, I'm not even trying to, for one, it's not even trying like what I'm trying to do. 2, like, I can't even fathom that. But 3, he's just like, look, dude, you know, you're 33 years old. Look what you're already at. Look where you've come in the last couple of years. You know, your biggest, I guess, comparable, Cardone, look where he was at 33, you know, and he's like, it's just what's going to happen. And I'm like, well, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it's not like that's the priority, you know? And so to your point, there was no priority to have a certain net worth by a certain time. I had one priority in my entire life. That was to get to the major leagues, and I didn't do it. And pretty much everything else to this point has been gravy.
Yeah.
Like,
I get you. Yeah. I can relate.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then when did you start teaching and mentoring? Because people started seeing what you were doing, seeing you were having success.
Yeah. So it's funny because literally, I think most of the things I do that people think I'm very successful at, I had no desire to do. And it's only by the grace of God that I feel like he was pushing me to do those things. For instance, in 2010, when I became a realtor, I already had failed as a realtor. I hated it. And then to bring me back to real estate in 2015, it's like, what the heck? Well, in 2017, I started getting a little recognition here in Vegas locally, and I started getting everyone asking me, hey, how do you flip? Teach us how. Teach us how. I'm like, okay. So I start taking all these coffee breaks and stuff. And I'm like, sure enough, I'm getting asked like nonstop. So in 2018, I said, you know what? I'm tired of like explaining the same thing over and over again. So I write a book.
Yeah.
So I wrote my first book, Flip Your Future. And, it was great. I just said, hey, here's the book, guys. If anyone ever asks me, just read the book. It wasn't even to make money. It was just, I'm tired of answering this over and over. Didn't want to be an author. And then everyone's like, well, we want a course. We want coaching. And I didn't want to coach because I was busy like building my businesses. But I ended up making a course, and then I ended up holding my first event at the end of 2018, and it was a lot of fun. But even then, I still didn't coach. I went a whole nother year in 2019 just doing my thing. And then at the end of 2019, somebody finally convinced me, like, Ryan, dude, two things are happening. One, you aren't helping the people that you could be helping. There are people that obviously will read your book and take your course, but most people need coaching. They need true mentorship. And you've got a lot of people who would do it, but you just don't want to. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And he goes, two, you're just leaving all this money on the table. Like, people will pay you a lot of money to get coaching. And I said, yeah. And he finally convinced me, because I just never in my own mind wanted to be like that guru. I wanted to be the guy actually doing it. And so at the end of 2019, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to do it. And so I held one more event at the end of 2019. It was this cool retreat in Big Bear, California. I had 10 people. Everybody paid $5,000 to be there. I was like, wow, I just made $50,000 like for like having fun.
And how are you getting all these clients and customers? Were you sharing it on social, building your brand, or how was the awareness spreading word of mouth?
At that time, all I had was an Instagram, and I think my Instagram had like 7,000 followers. It was not big.
So you've seen the power in growing your business with your personal brand even since back then to now, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking through my notes from years ago, and I remember in 2018 when I went to my first 10X Growth Con, they were all talking about the power of personal brand. This was in 2018, and I remember listening. I'm like, that makes complete sense. I want to build my personal brand, and so it was uncomfortable. I started just posting on Instagram and stuff, but by no means was I like this big guy. I was known in Vegas, but that was it. And then, I just saw it in the form of deals and lenders. People are like, dude, I see what you're doing. Like, I want to do deals with you. I want to lend you money. And I'm like, great. Well, at the end of 2019, like I said, this guy convinced me that coaching was good. And so I held that event. And then I said to everyone, hey, if you want to join this coaching program I'm starting, it's $10,000 for the year, here's what you get. Let's go. And I had 10 people sign up, and it was $100,000. And I was like, wow, that was crazy that I just made $100,000 like that
in a day
when I have to go do so much work to flip a house, and I got to flip probably 4 of them to go make 100. And I was like, okay, there is something to this coaching thing. And, I saw the results they all got, like their lives were changed. The majority of those 10 people back then are still in the program today.
Wow.
And, Future Flipper today is totally different. I mean, we, probably almost do $1 million a month in revenue. And it's just like, it's crazy. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started with no big social media following when I launched that.
And how important would you say social media is today, especially in a landscape where a lot of people have limited beliefs on, well, everyone's building their personal brand, or how am I any different from this guy or gal offering the same product or service? Like, what would be Ryan Pineda's best advice to people on building their personal brand to grow their business simultaneously?
Yeah. I had the realization in COVID that building a personal brand was even more important. I had already known it to that point, but I was like, I don't know the best way to describe it, like halfway in. And I think that's what most people are, where they're like, yeah, my focus is my business. And I understand personal brand's important, and I'll kind of dabble in it and do it, but by no means is that my career, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in 2020, I go, you know what? What if I flipped them? What if I made personal brand my career? And that was what I focused all my time and energy on. And then the businesses, hopefully, can still function without me if I set them up properly. And that was the test. And thankfully for me, in 2020, it worked out pretty good. I think that first year of going truly all in on social media, I got like 70,000 YouTube subscribers, like 400,000 TikTok, like maybe 100,000 Instagram. It was like, and it was immediate. I saw the benefits month over month. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Every business is getting all these leads. People are seeing me and recognizing me like, this is nuts. And then I just kept doubling down. And, every month I'm like, how do we get better? How do we get more views? How do we switch it up?
Yeah.
And, how do we create businesses for the eyeballs we're getting?
Yeah, and then I think that model works because I know you do two things really smart is you leverage brand really well, but then also you have a lot of strategic partnerships. So you have people running the businesses, and then your brand can help drive traffic and leads and attention to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a big part of the strategy. Talk to me a little bit about like for you because you have what you said 7 companies now, 7, 8 companies.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's like a tax company, like even stuff that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
I believe you guys have Amazon automation stores as well.
Yep.
So like for you, what's your mental attitude about finding the right business partners and what do you look for when partnering strategically with people?
Yeah, partnerships are very interesting because all my businesses have started in a different way. Some started by myself where I didn't have a partner and all of a sudden I brought in somebody or somebody just was with me as a normal employee and they just rose through the ranks and, became the head guy, right? And those people may not be partners or owners on paper, but they're making a percentage of, our net profit as if they were a partner. And, those people are very loyal. They're just great at what they do. I don't have to worry about them. There are other businesses where I start them with a partner from the jump, because I'm not an expert in that field. And what I will say about vetting partnerships is you need to be very careful, especially if you're going to give them equity, because it's like, man, it's a marriage, man.
Yeah.
You're in this for life. And if you got to break up, things get messy, and especially with the business and the employees and the customers. And it sucks. I've had to go through that recently with one of my businesses, and it's no fun. And I wish I would have did a better job of vetting and making sure, that this was exactly who I wanted to be in business with and everything else. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's how you learn.
You learn. And what you got to realize is in all businesses, you're going to learn and make mistakes. Partnerships are just one aspect, right? There's a million other mistakes you're going to make. And I've learned that my biggest mistakes always lead to my biggest breakthroughs, after.
Yeah. Your mess becomes the message. I wanted to ask about like when you have multiple companies, you said multiple of them are doing 7 figures.
Mm-hmm.
From the Ryan, like a couple years back, who couldn't imagine making $1 million, let alone, millions of dollars or even one business doing $1 million a month. Like looking back, you have multiple companies now doing 7 figures. What do you think most people get wrong about trying to grow their one business to 7 figures that you've managed to figure out how to grow multiple to 7 figures simultaneously?
Yeah. What I've realized is that business is the same on everything. You've got, marketing, sales, operations. That's as simple as it gets, right? And so no matter what business I have, they all follow the same blueprint. Okay, what are we going to do for our marketing strategy? How are we going to go about generating leads? Okay, what is our sales process? How do we handle, the lead flow and the funnels and everything else? Okay, how do we handle fulfillment of these products or services that we are selling, etc.? What are some other subsidiary products or upsells that these current customers might want? And what ends up happening is if you give somebody great service in one company and you have the companies that person utilizes, then they're more than likely to buy from you in another company. And that's kind of how it happened for us. It's like if you join Future Flipper and we do a good job teaching you how to flip houses and invest in real estate, more than likely you're going to be like, dude, I'm paying a lot of taxes now. How do I? So you're going to go to my tax company ideally, right? And then, I've got people
like vertically integrated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I mean, I've got people who are in 4 or 5 of my companies, right? Mm-hmm. I launched my NFT project and we did over $2 million in just the pre-sale. And I launched it at my Future Flipper event. It was like everybody bought them at the event. It's like, yeah, because they believe in what we're doing at Tykes because they've had a good experience at Future Flipper. And that's the goal, man. I mean, I would say the misconception is that every business is different. It's like, no, you're just selling a different product at the end of the day. And there are obviously different ways that you've got to know detail-wise about how to fulfill and handle your ops. That would be the main thing. But your marketing and sales is pretty much the same across anything.
Yeah. What's your litmus test when you decide, should I start this business or not? Because I'm sure a lot of great ideas and opportunities come across your desk. How do you decide yes or no?
It's funny, dude, because I started vlogging about 2 months ago. So my camera guy over there, Austin, vlogs me every day. And he'll tell you, like, literally, what is it, every day? Like, I get pitched a new idea, at least. Like, I'm on a meeting every day. Today I had 2 meetings about various things. And
Yeah, that's what I'm curious to ask. How do you, we have so much coming at you. How do you decipher? How do you?
Well, my initial filter is no. It's just like always like I'm going into it like already kind of rejecting
Right. Yeah.
this idea.
Yeah.
And you got to prove it to me
Yeah.
that this needs to be a good idea.
It's like guilty until proven innocent kind of vibe.
Pretty much. And right or wrong, that's how I approach it, because most of them are 99% going to be a no. And that's just how I do it. In fact, it's funny, like yesterday, I was getting pitched on insurance company, and I actually do like that. We use them for insurance right now. And he's like, hey, what's it take to get you on board with us on the insurance side? And, you got to see if it's worthwhile for all parties, and it's someone you like working with, and, morals and character and all that stuff too. But, long story short, I think business is, once you start mastering it, like I can spin off companies pretty quickly with the same process. In fact, lots of people have asked me this question, and I just created a course that I'm actually giving away for free. I haven't released it yet. It's called Business Builder Academy, and it literally just outlines everything I know about creating a brand, all the way from the name, the logo, the website, the domain, everything, to marketing, funnels, ads, paid traffic, organic traffic, to sales, how to handle a sales team, how to follow up, CRMs. Because kind of like my book, I get asked it so many times where I'm like, I'm just going to create it and I'll give it for free. And, I feel good about it. And also too, I know it'll bring value over and over again in the long run.
Right. Yeah. So from you, like running all these things, what to you present day is like the most stressful or most challenging? Because you got so much going on. You got new companies, new opportunities. You film content, feels like it's being pumped out multiple times a day. I know you batch film, so you're strategic about it, but what does Ryan Pineda struggle with day to day balancing all of that? Like, what are things you're actively working on trying to get better at?
There's always specific struggles with specific companies for whatever it is that week, right? Like, this week, e-commerce has been a nightmare. Last week, or, I guess a month from now, we're going to have our event. I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but that week's going to be really hard. Yeah. Every time we throw a big event, we got 500 people at the Mandalay Bay, and it already sold out. So we're already out of tickets. And now
good problems to have.
They're good problems to have, but now we're doing a virtual event. We've never run virtual. So now I'm like on the phone nonstop, logistically trying to figure out, okay, how exactly are we doing this virtual event? What's the program? What's the software? Like all these, who's going to be the virtual host? There's a lot of things to figure out. We're launching Tykes in 7 days, the NFT project. I'm like, okay, let's make sure our marketing schedule is online to launch Tykes and get it the hype and everything that it needs to be successful. You deal with employees who, have sicknesses. One of our employees actually died last week. It was a really sad thing.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's just, every business has problems no matter what you do. And, we back out of real estate deals all the time because of one reason or another. Buyers back out of our deal. For me, the big key is, if I were to get caught up in all the day-to-day problems of all these businesses, I would go crazy, right? Me even talking about it right now, I'm like, damn, I got a lot of problems. But I don't ever really hear about most of them, because the operators know they don't need to tell me these things unless they need to tell me, right? If there's a big need where I need to step in, then I will step in, I will solve it until it is fixed and until I know I can hand it back off. And so, there are companies where I have to step in for, maybe days or weeks, sometimes months, and just to make sure we do things the way we need to, and then be able to hand it back off. And that's what it takes to run a lot of businesses, dude.
Yeah. And I love that you say that you have kind of point people who are responsible for each of them.
Yep.
How do you find quality talent like that? Because that really takes like really good talent to be able to run all those things simultaneously.
Yeah, finding A players is, I would say, like my superpower. And I think this is where your personal brand comes into play very heavily. People think content is important for generating traffic on the B2C side, but reality is it's great for B2B. Whenever I get people like you who I've never met before, but they reach out to me, it's great because it's only because of my personal brand. When I get people, like any of my operators and I make a post and people are like, dude, I want to work for you. Here's my talent. Here's what I can do. I'm ready to show you. I don't have to convince A-level players to work for me.
Yeah.
They're reaching out to me to work for me. And so it's a totally different shift where most other companies are trying to recruit. They're trying to like throw crazy offers at people, where it's the opposite for us. People want to work for us. They take pay cuts to work for us to prove their worth to then reap the rewards long term.
Yeah, dude, that's very smart. Now, I want to go back to one thing you said earlier that I think is brilliant. You said that most people, they're kind of like half in on their personal brand and content. You said the first year you decided to go all in, you experienced growth month over month, and you're still running it till today. So what for you, like how did you define it? What did you do different in your approach? Were you like, all right, so for the next 52 weeks, we're going to do 3 videos a week on YouTube? Like, how did Ryan Pineda define it just for people listening or watching so they can maybe put their plan together to go all in on their content personal brand?
Yeah. So the main thing was up to that point, I never had, once again, a mentor or blueprint. I've always been really good. If I get somebody who tells me exactly how to do it, I can execute if I have the exact blueprint. And it took me a while with real estate to realize like, oh yeah, podcast got me this far, but I need people who have scaled. Give me the blueprint. And then sure enough, things took off. With social media, it was no different, right? In 2018, I go to Cardone's event. I'm like, this is great. Personal brand's cool, but they didn't tell you how to do it. It's just like, get on social media. It's important. And so I just start making videos. There's no schedule. There's no, style. There's no me trying to learn to get better at it. I'm just literally posting anything and everything blind. Well, in 2020, when I decided I was going to go all in, I realized like, okay, like I like the results these other guys are getting with their brands. How do I learn from them and emulate what they did? So I remember my buddy Graham Stephan, had a YouTube course. And I go, this guy's a beast at YouTube. Let me take his course. And after taking it, it became immediately clear to me what he was doing. I go, oh, this isn't some random luck of the draw thing. There's actually a process, your thumbnail, your title, these are all really important things. How you hook them in the beginning is really important. The length of the video is important. How many ads you have in the video is important. The description, the SEO, the keywords, everything else. And I said, okay, if this is the plan I have to follow, I can win following this. And, you give me the certain times to post, the days, cool, I'm going to do that. And so that's what I did. I said, I followed his blueprint. I got Meet Kevin's. I watched a couple other ones. I got the equipment that I needed to make high quality stuff. I got a good set. And all of a sudden, when you have everything in place, now it just becomes execution. And most people still struggle with execution. So there's
Why do you think that is?
Because people like to play business and play, doing it. They like to get set up like they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But then it becomes now, oh crap, I got to actually do the work now.
Yeah.
I made one video and it didn't work. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. What do you think separates people from that follow through from the ones that just get stuck doing in that
I think your conviction has to be strong enough for what you're doing. Okay. So you could watch this interview right now and be like, you know what? Ryan says YouTube's good. I'm making a YouTube. That's not a good enough conviction. Like your why has to be so much stronger for you doing it. And I remember for me, when I looked at the YouTube, I said, I get it. I am sold that YouTube is the way. This is like the best platform for you to be big on for various reasons, but I'm convinced. And I said, what's going to get me through wanting to do this? Well, I had multiple motivators. One motivator, and this is me being truly transparent with people. Like the first motivator was money. I was like, this is going to make a lot of money. If these guys can make this much money doing this, and personally as a competitor, I'm like, they're not as talented as me. I can do this. Okay, that was number one. Number two was the ability to help people. I said, when I flip a house right now, it's great. Like I kind of help people and it's cool. Like I give jobs, but man, if I could teach people how to flip houses and I can make money helping people, that's really cool because I can see the life change and everything else. So like
win-win.
That was extremely motivating. But the third reason, honestly, like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, was status. And it was like, man, dude, my dream was always to be a pro baseball player, to be this guy who was known. People just like respect my talent and what I do.
Yeah.
And it was like
A master of craft.
yeah. And I'm
That
like,
was the same, yeah.
I think I can do this. And I think that this is a way to have status. People, and I wrote it right in my journal the first day I decided to do. I go, I want to be the most known real estate investor on YouTube. That was my goal. I wanted to be the guy who people just knew, that guy does real estate. He's the best.
You weren't intimidated by other people who've done way bigger numbers, way younger, like any of those negative beliefs didn't mess with your head at all?
I think that's where the baseball background comes into play, where I don't give a crap who you are, how big your name is.
Going at it.
Yeah, dude. I faced the best of the best big leaguers in the world. I faced these first rounders, these guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame, all stars, and you cannot go into the game thinking this guy's the best guy I've ever seen. There's no way I can compete. I shouldn't even be on the same field as this guy. Like, you ain't going to make it. I walk into every at bat and I'm like, all right, I don't give a crap what they say about this fool. I'm about to mess him up. And that's how I go into everything.
Yeah, so you just went into it with that attitude. So for you, like as you look at the landscape of what's next in business, what do you see as the things you want to get into? Where do you see yourself going with Web3, NFTs? Like, what's on the horizon for Ryan Pineda in the future?
I'm very passionate about Web3. I think that industry is going to be massive. And I also think that it's like early stage social media. Obviously, we all wish we would have got on YouTube 5-10 years ago, right?
Right.
But I think that's what Web3 is. I think it's going to be huge. And I already see the potential, and I'm really excited about it. So I think the next few years, you're going to see me do a lot of Web3 stuff. I think you're also going to see me do even more with social media. I know I've got a lot more in the tank for what I've done and haven't done. I've realized personally, I really enjoy podcasts. I've actually not shied away, but stopped doing the videos that kind of got me to where I'm at, where it was just me talking to a camera, solo. Hey, here's 3 things to do. Boom, boom, boom. And
Can I take a guess as to why?
Why?
Because your brain gets zapped doing it that way so robotically versus when you're in the back and forth pitch and catch flow.
Yeah, I enjoy having normal conversations. Also, too, it's just significantly harder to do that because you got to script it. You got to come up with ideas. You got to do this. It's way easier for me to be like, look at my schedule. Oh, we got 2 podcasts? Tight. I don't even look at it.
Yeah, just flow.
Yeah, it takes no effort. And then we vlog now. That takes no effort. So everything I do takes no effort now, as far as I'm already doing it naturally. So I love it. So I think what you would see from me is really go all in on podcasting, which is also why I have you here, because I want to pick your brain. I want the blueprint of, hey, what I'm thinking about doing this with my podcast. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And because I think, to me, this is another belief I have that's happening with social media. I personally believe that there are basically just 2 types of listeners now. I think there's those who only like short form and they're just going to listen to TikToks and Reels all day. And then I think there are those who like podcast and they're going to go hour-long podcast or more. I do think the days of the 10-minute YouTube, like those people are going to become less and less.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a totally different type of audience. It's not an audience that you can offer products and services to or add value in a long-term way. It's just kind of, for lack of better expression, disposable entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
We'll consume yours and the next one and the next one. Versus podcasts, you get a different type of viewer that's more vested over a longer time duration of a show or whatever. Yeah.
Well, you know what I was thinking too? Somebody who watches a YouTube, like you said, most people will watch a YouTube at their house and do it. I don't know about you guys, but I would assume most people listen to a podcast just at the gym, doing other productive type things. It's not a thing you just like sit on your couch and watch on TV. That's my belief.
Yeah.
So you're
Unless
naturally
it's Joe Rogan and people are smoking a joint. Yeah.
whatever, right? But most people are gonna be like, that's just a different type of person who's like hustling and trying to better themselves while doing something else.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense, dude. I love it. So looking back, here's a question I have before we wrap up here. Looking back, what would the Ryan Pineda today, who's generated millions of dollars, say to the young Ryan who maybe just got cut from his team, was looking for answers, trying to figure out what to do next. I'm sure you've encountered those types of people at your events, kind of on the cusp of wanting to have a breakthrough, find their first success. What advice would this Ryan have to that young Ryan looking for answers?
It's hard to say because people ask me that all the time, like, do you wish you would have just done all this earlier? I'm like, no. Like, I had a blast playing baseball all 8 years. Like, I would never trade it for anything. And I think it goes back to, I still really like, obviously making money is great, but the day I was making $8,000 a month, I literally thought I was rich. And I was like, I'm good. And when I made, my first 6 figures in a year, I was like, I'm rich.
Set, yeah.
Like, I'm set for life. And then I made $1 million. I'm like, holy crap, dude, I cannot believe I'm a millionaire. This is nuts.
How old were you when you made your first $1 million?
Well, I became a millionaire 3 years after I started flipping. So I was 28. And then, the next year when I was 29, I made over $1 million in 1 year. But money has never been like why I do things. And even to this day, you ask me, how do I decipher whether a business is something I should start or not? Well, it's got to be a big enough opportunity, obviously, to be worth my time, but I got to be passionate about it. Like one of our most recent businesses we started was called Wealthy Woman. It's a women's mastermind.
I love it. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
You're like, why does this guy have a women's mastermind? He's a dude. Because I know it's a problem. And I've had countless women, my wife, my business partner, Heather, people in our mastermind, like, there's just not enough stuff for women. And I'm like, this is a problem. And I think I know how to start a business to solve this. And it's been amazing. So if I was to tell young Ryan anything, I would say, don't just literally follow the path. It's going to be fine. But if I was telling young anybody anything, I'd say, dude, honestly, just do what you're passionate about, right? Like, if you want to play baseball for $1,200 a month, go do it. If you want to go pursue a career as an artist, not making any money, or, starting a band or whatever, like, pursue your dream as long as you can, because you will never regret it, having known you tried to the best of your abilities to pursue the dream. Making money in corporate and businesses can do this crap forever, So I would say follow your dream, and your dream might make you a lot of money too.
And on a long enough time horizon, because maybe something that you're passionate about for the first year or two maybe doesn't make money, but since you're in that aligned energy, it'll lead to like the next thing.
Or you make money with it in a different way. I've seen so many of these guys who are great. For instance, my buddy, his name's Fuzzy. He's got a YouTube channel here. It's like 400,000 subs or something.
Shout out Fuzzy.
Shout out to Fuzzy, No. Okay, so Fuzzy, he loves baseball, but, he's 5'5". Like, he just didn't have the talent physically to reach the highest levels, right? But what does he do? He makes a YouTube channel. He talks about baseball every single day. He's super passionate about it. And sure enough, he makes a living on baseball. So you never know what your passion is going to lead to.
So be willing to kind of explore it and let it evolve form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what about people who say, when you say, follow your passion because that's the path, because you can get lost if you're just trying to do a money play. I'm sure we've both seen people and met people. I have a lot of my buddies.
I've been guilty of it.
Yeah.
I've
had a lot of my buddies that got into the e-com game. They made $2-3 million bucks, but had to sell their soul, for lack of better expression. Got into the course game, whatever stuff happened, and then 2-3 years later, they're down and out, and they kind of lose their way a lot, or their compass a lot. Mm-hmm. So for you, what would your advice be to people who like want to pursue a passion but don't necessarily, they might be in their mid-20s and they have the urgency for bills, but it's not making the big money they want. How do they navigate that? Would you give them the advice to play the long game? Would you kind of urge them to kind of always make sure to lean in the direction of profitability over passion?
I think for everyone it's different, man. For me, I was so passionate about baseball that I was willing to sacrifice any kind of money to pursue that dream. For some people, they're not that passionate about like really anything, right? Like they're kind of trying to find what they're passionate about. And it's like, okay, if that's the case, all right, maybe you do pursue something that makes money that you enjoy doing, and you may find that you're passionate about later. For me, I was not passionate about making YouTube videos. It's like, I don't know many people that naturally are like, I want to talk to a camera by myself and just make videos. But sure enough, after doing it and after seeing the results and the feedback from people and the money that it made, everything, I'm like, I love making videos.
Right, yeah.
I do now. I really enjoy it. I could see myself making videos the rest of my life. I really could.
Is it would you say from all of your effective actions that you could be focusing on day to day, building your personal brand is probably the highest leveraged one to grow the businesses?
Easily. Not even close. I mean, and you look at all the other big entrepreneurs too, they all understand this. I mean, you look at what Gary Vee does all day. He's just, I never seen the guy actually work. I'm like, what is he? He says he works, but I'm like, when? Like you're speaking on stage, which I get it. You're getting paid to do that, but I'm like, I've never seen you in the other stuff working.
Yeah, like in the office working.
Yeah, Cardone, I was at his office 2 weeks ago, and he said the same thing. He goes, my job is to be the marketer for all my companies. It's to be on social media. It's to do the things I've got to do to be the face of the brand. And I just realized I'm like, that is my job as well.
And you've done that extremely well. I want to ask you this last question before we wrap up. What for you has been your strategy? I know we were recently in Dominican Republic and you kind of, I saw you in action. You filmed like 20 TikToks in a matter of like minutes. A lot of people struggle with, building their personal brand and content. So what are some strategic things you do to be highly efficient with your content? I know you like block out days sometimes to film. So what's Ryan Pineda's secret formula to have like really
massive
scalable
amounts of
content?
Okay, so I think it's twofold. One is the team. Obviously, I have a huge team that's pumping out all this content. So literally, it's impossible to put out a ton of content without manpower.
How much do you invest a month in your personal brand?
Just mine is around $40,000 a month. And then we have my feature flipper content team, which is another like $20,000 a month that we spend, where we do the same exact stuff for me, for my students and, the community, because we're trying to build our own little like superstars within the community. So it's not all about me. But I would say, obviously, you got to invest in team. You don't need $40,000 worth. I mean, if you get a good editor, somebody who's versatile, who can help you come up with ideas and other things, like it's basically going to be a jackknife type person. But on the other side of it, as far as to your point of, dude, how did this guy film 20 TikToks so fast? That comes with skill and repetition. There's no way to get to that level that, I showed you guys without me having done it a million times. The first year I was on TikTok, I didn't have an editor. I literally filmed 2 TikToks a day with my phone, 30 minutes every morning. I would write the captions and the edits and everything myself in the app. So imagine, I filmed 700 of those because I was willing to do it. I woke up 30 minutes earlier every day because I had to film them all. If you go to my oldest TikToks, you'll see they're literally all in my kitchen.
You did 2 a day every day for a year? Mm-hmm. And that was you set that intention. I'm going to do 2 a day every day for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you never missed a day.
Didn't miss a day.
Wow.
I filmed them all. And I started to understand what worked, what didn't work, what videos got views, what didn't get views. And I just studied and got good. And so by the time, I came to do it in a better way, having other people film me, having other people edit, I just could knock them out instantly. And you saw it, right?
Yeah.
Like now, and because I was doing it that way too, everything was impromptu. And so
you built the muscle.
I built the muscle of like, I can come up with an idea instantly. So like when we filmed those ads crushed, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
Dude.
I saw that, yeah.
I remember I filmed it with Robert and stuff, and I go, these ads are going to crush, dude. Check this out. Here's what we're going to say.
Shout out Robert Wednesday.
Yeah.
Investor Lift.
Great guy. And sure enough, they have crushed.
That's amazing, dude. And you also will batch film content for your TikToks, like in the span of like a couple hours in one day for the month?
Yeah. So what I used to do on YouTube was every Monday I would film like 4, 10 to 15 minute YouTube videos. So Monday, literally, I blocked it off. No meetings. Just I would sit here in this office right here, film all day. Literally, I dreaded that day. I'm like, man, it's Monday.
Yeah.
I gotta go knock these out. So I'm thankful I film in a different way now. But the TikToks, I still feel that way. Once a month. We kind of lowered it. Before, I would do it like once every 2 months. I'd film 60 all in one day. I would sit here for 8 hours and just crank them out.
How do you video ideate that fast? 'Cause so many people struggle with that. How do you just have...
Well, okay, so 2 parts to that. One is you're saying like the idea side of it. So I have a really good team who feeds me questions and then I freestyle the questions. So I'm not having to come up with random stuff all the time.
Yeah, okay.
He already knows. So that's great on that front. But the second part is as far as like the endurance to be on camera and have energy and do that. Once again, I think it just comes from repetition. It comes from, obviously I'm in good shape. It comes from baseball and discipline of like, it don't matter how you feel. Today's the day. it's showtime. And, most people let their emotions and their physical state dictate, how they feel. I'm like, bro, I don't play this game today. Somebody might, take my spot and I'm cut tomorrow. That's the life in professional sports. It's super cutthroat. My video guys, you got a big team with you right now. They showed up today. If you don't feel good today, tough luck. We got to film.
Exactly.
Everybody else is here for work. Let's go. And so that's just kind of how I approach it. There's no other alternative. We're doing this. And my team will tell you in 2.5 years of doing this, I've never missed one day. Like, I've never said, guys, I'm not feeling good today. Like, if we had to film that day, we're filming. The only way it doesn't get filmed is because, a business meeting, like time reasons would be the only reason. But there's never the physical, emotional reason. Like, guys, I'm just not into it. But I know there are a lot of people who are like that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's true that until people master that, they'll never be able to really grow their brand limitless. Because if you look at the best dudes, they actually spend the least time stressing about it because they're just really highly efficient at creating it. You look at Cardone, like you said, Gary Vee. They're just very good at vertically integrating and then recycling that content.
I feel like we had this conversation in the Dominican. Did we talk about this before?
Outside on the cigars?
Yeah, I think.
With Robert.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I remember you guys were asking that. And I was like, I think honestly, the reason I can pump out so much content is because I could put out 5 videos in the span that a normal person does one. And It's just like, how do you catch that? It's just pure skill. It's like asking, like you just can't do the things that LeBron can do. You can still be successful, but the way LeBron does it is not the way that, and I'm not LeBron by any means, but
the LeBron of TikTok. Yeah.
I might be the LeBron of efficient TikToks, but like with everything, there's always a skill element to play. It's funny. I saw Patrick Bet-David talking about this one time where it was like, he showed this chart of talent versus like effort. And, he basically had like on one end of the spectrum, you had Muggsy Bogues, very low talent, the best effort. He maximized his talent to the fullest, right? And then you got a guy like Shaq on the other side who had extreme talent, but he was lazy. He did not maximize his talent to what he could have been, right? But still, because he was so talented, it didn't matter. And then you got a guy like LeBron who is just talent and maximizing. Like, that's the cream of the crop. There's nothing. Kobe, the same way. That guy, he got every ounce of talent out of his body that he could.
Yeah.
And that's for me what I want to do. It's like, I know I have a certain amount of talent available to me. And I feel like in baseball, I maxed it out and I wasn't good enough. I don't have to look back at baseball and be like, man, I wish I would have worked harder, because I saw a lot of those guys. I saw guys who didn't take it seriously, who partied at night, who were chasing girls, doing drugs, all that crap. And I'm like, what a waste of talent, dude. And I know for me, I did everything the right way to the fullest of my abilities, and I just wasn't good enough. And that's life. And now I look at it and I like, the whole TikTok thing, it's like funny, but it's true. It's like, dude, I know I got more talent at making these TikToks than, 99% of the world. So how do I really maximize that talent and put out as many as possible if I'm better?
And do you think the chip on your shoulder from the baseball thing kind of like motivated you? I know you mentioned earlier, like you want to be respected for your craft. Is that a thing that still motivates you a little bit, or kind of have you used all that fuel? Because I love that you share that part of the story, because I think there's a lot of people out there who maybe had a first dream or two. Me and Ed talked about this, where his dream was to be a baseball player as well. Mm-hmm. And so, for you, what advice do you have for people that have like a chip on their shoulder from not getting that first dream, and how to use that fuel as motivation?
I think you definitely need to use it, man. I mean, I see guys who are like, dude, you're too competitive. And I'm just like, I'm being real with everybody. Like, this is what my mind does and how it works. And I think there's a different type of competitiveness where your competitiveness is internally focused versus externally on somebody else. And I think when you start competing against other people and judging where you are versus where I am, that's when it gets unhealthy and bad. But when I can internally compete with myself and say, man, this is what I need to do. I know I'm capable of this, and then start just using this internal thing to build it up of like, okay, people doubt you. People say this about you. What are you going to say about it? And like, just do all these I guess, mind games, just like I do before a game to get you hyped up. Like you were saying, like we'd be facing a good pitcher, and I was like, okay, everybody thinks this guy's the man. Okay. Or, you'd have other guys who'd be like, dude, I don't even want to play today. Like,
Yeah. I get you.
I think today's a good day to take off because this guy's, he's good. And I'm always like, no, give me this guy. Like, let's go.
Yeah, you tame the mind to win in advance, yeah. And control the controllables, yeah.
I just want to win, dude. Nonstop. I love that book by Tim Grover called Winning. Great book.
Oh, very powerful, dude. So real quick, before I wrap up, Brian, we play a game at the end of every interview where it's called First Things First. So the way the game works is I'm going to rifle off a quick word or phrase, and you just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Make sense?
All right.
It's like a relation game.
Okay.
The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice.
Okay.
Make sense?
Fair enough.
So just the first word or phrase that comes to mind.
It can be a phrase, though, like
Yeah.
a short phrase.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Word or short thought, whatever.
Okay.
So first thing, money.
Amplifier.
The role your faith and wife has played in your success.
I'd be nowhere without it,
The biggest limiting belief you've had to overcome in business.
Probably money.
How so?
Mainly because I waited 5 years to start flipping houses because I thought I needed money. I didn't start doing other things because I thought, I would need more money or it wasn't worth the money or, money in some way or another usually is a belief of why I didn't do something in business.
The scariest decision you've ever had to make in business.
I mean, it would probably have to be when I maxed out those credit cards for 50 grand. That was pretty, I talk like it was great, but
Easy to say looking back.
yeah, looking back, I was like, I was a genius, but man, that was pretty scary.
Yeah. Biggest check you've ever gotten that just blew your mind where it was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I sold my apartment earlier this year, and I think I got a check for like 1.1 million.
The biggest obstacle that you think is like what you're facing next to grow your business.
Manpower. It's going to be, we're going to need a lot more bodies to do what the next scale requires. And there will be hard choices on who fills those positions because a lot of guys who have helped me get to this point may not be best equipped for the next point. And so figuring out who fits where at the next level of scale. It's not, and to be clear, because they're going to listen to this, it's not that means they're getting fired or anything. It just means that, they could be at the top of the totem pole today, but, we might need to bring someone above them in order to get it to the next level.
Best advice you've ever been given in business.
I don't know if this is the best, but it's the most recent. Cardone said 10 days ago at the event that whatever you resent is an indication of what you should be doing. And I just remember clearly, like, there's so many things I resented. Like, social media is dumb. YouTube's dumb. You can't flip houses like that. These guys promoting all the time, being salesy guru guys. And it's just like everything I always resented, I ended up becoming because it was an indication of what I knew I should have been doing the whole time.
What you hope people take from Ryan Pineda's story.
My hope is that people realize there's lots of ways to win. Your first dream may not have played out the way that you wanted, but there's a lot of different doors out there, and a lot of those doors might be things that you did not want to do. Mm-hmm. And then if you give them a chance, you may realize that you actually really enjoy them.
And they do lead to your dreams, yeah.
They lead to a whole different dream that actually is way bigger. And, I say this all the time, like God had a bigger plan for me than playing baseball. I look back now today as older and wiser, and obviously with hindsight, and I can say, why would I have been playing baseball? Like, who was that actually helping? And I'm like, it's just an entertainment thing. I wouldn't have helped people. And I look at what I do today and I'm like, man, there's so many people that I've been able to help. It's crazy. This is way better than baseball.
Dude, I love that. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being on the show.
Appreciate you, bro.
Sharing it. And where can people find you if they want to connect with you further?
Just go to ryanpineda.com. You can go find all my socials, my companies, and we'd love to work with you in some way.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you learned from this interview down below. Make sure to follow Ryan in the description below as well. Until next time, live strong, live with passion, and we'll see you guys in the next inspiring video. Peace.